You did not stay because you were weak. You stayed because something happened inside your brain that you did not choose and could not see while it was happening. And the most painful part of what I am about to tell you is not the science. It is how simple it is. How a mechanism so basic, so fundamental to how every human brain processes reward, was enough to override everything you knew, everything you felt, every moment of clarity you had about what was happening to you. Stay until the very end, because there is something at the end of this video that nobody says out loud about trauma bonding. And it is the thing that changes not just how you understand this relationship, but how you understand yourself. You have probably heard the term intermittent reinforcement. But hearing a term and understanding what it actually did inside your body are two completely different things. So let me show you. Imagine you are sitting in a room with two buttons. The first button, every single time you press it, gives you a small reward. Predictable, consistent, always there. The second button sometimes gives you a reward, sometimes nothing. Completely unpredictable. You never know if this press will be the one. Which button do you become obsessed with? Not the first one. You stop thinking about the first one almost immediately, because your brain knows what it will get. There is no uncertainty, no activation, no need to keep reaching. The second button consumes you, because your brain does not just release dopamine when the reward arrives on the second button. It releases dopamine in anticipation, in the hoping, in the not knowing but desperately needing to know. And that state, that neurological state of heightened seeking and desperate anticipation, is what you were living in. Not love, addiction. But here is where it gets darker. Because the person who created that second button in your life, the person whose warmth came sometimes and not others, whose affection was present today and withdrawn tomorrow, whose approval you spent enormous energy trying to earn, they were not just a slot machine. They were a slot machine that started as a guarantee. The early days, the warmth, the intensity, the "I have never felt this way about anyone." That was the first button, the consistent one, the one that opened you, the one that made you trust. And then, gradually, almost imperceptibly, it became the second button. But by then, your brain was already built around it. By then, the pathways were already laid. By then, walking away was not a decision about whether you loved them. It was a withdrawal from a substance your nervous system had been trained to need. Now I need to tell you something that most people never hear. And this is the part that changes everything. Studies show that trauma bonding affects people across every demographic, every education level, every income level, every background. Research on trauma bonding consistently finds that intelligence, self-awareness, and even professional knowledge about psychology do not protect against it. Therapists get trauma bonded. Doctors get trauma bonded. People who have read every book and watched every video get trauma bonded. Because it does not operate at the level of knowledge. It operates at the level of the nervous system. And your nervous system does not care what you know. It responds to what it experienced. Now let me take you into exactly how it was built. Because trauma bonding does not happen in one dramatic moment. It is constructed, layer by layer, through a specific cycle. And once you see the cycle clearly, you will never be able to unsee it. The first stage is idealization. Imagine this. You have met someone, and something about the way they show up, the attention, the depth, the specific way they seem to see you that nobody else has, feels different from anything before. They text first. They remember the small things. They say, "I have never talked to anyone the way I talk to you." And in the place inside you where the genuine need for connection lives, something opens. You let them in, further and faster than you would have let most people in. Because everything about how they showed up said, "This is safe. This is real. This is worth the opening." But here is what you did not know in that moment. The opening itself, the depth of access you gave, was the foundation of what was about to be built. The second stage is devaluation. And it does not arrive as a single dramatic event. It arrives as a shift. Something changes. The warmth becomes inconsistent. The attention becomes unpredictable. The person who was so certain about you begins to seem uncertain. The compliments get replaced by subtle criticisms. The presence becomes absence. And you do what any person who has been opened does when the thing they opened for starts to withdraw. You reach. You examine yourself. You adjust. You offer more accommodation, more understanding, more willingness to question your own perception. You try to get back to where you were. But here's the thing about that reaching. That reaching, that trying and adjusting and working to recover what you lost, is not just a response to the devaluation. It is the mechanism of the bond being built. Because your brain is now fully activated, fully in the seeking state, orienting all of its attention and energy toward the unpredictable source. And that orientation, that consuming focus on one person, feels indistinguishable from love. The third stage is the incident. Something breaks through the surface. Cruelty, betrayal, explosion. Withdrawal so complete, it feels like being erased. And in that moment, there is clarity. Brief, clean, devastating clarity. You see what this actually is. You feel what you actually deserve. You know, with a certainty you rarely feel, that this is not okay. But then, the fourth stage arrives. The reconciliation. The warmth returns. The apology. The good version. The person who first opened you, showing back up with the exact words, the exact warmth, the exact version of themselves that your nervous system has been seeking through all of it. And the dopamine that releases in that moment is more powerful than anything that came before. Because it comes after deprivation, after the searching and the adjusting and the incident and the fear of losing them completely. Your brain does not just feel relieved. Your brain learns, at a level deeper than thought, that the cycle leads here, that the pain leads to this, that enduring what came before produces this specific reward. And the bond deepens. The cycle completes and begins again. Each time, the roots go deeper. The dependency becomes more embedded. The leaving becomes more neurologically impossible. Until you are not staying because you want to. You are staying because your brain has made leaving feel like self-destruction. Now here is the part that most people are not prepared for. And this is the midpoint of this video. So if you have been watching, this is where it gets most important. You understand the mechanism now. You can name the cycle. You can see it clearly. But here is what understanding alone cannot do. It cannot turn off the nervous system that was built during the bond. Because here is what nobody tells you about recovery. The bond lives in your body, not just your memory. Long after you leave, long after the relationship is over, the number is blocked, the photos are deleted, something happens. You are in a completely different room, a completely safe room, and someone nearby raises their voice, not at you, not even toward you, and something inside you contracts. Your shoulders come up. Your breath shortens. Your nervous system goes to a specific alert that has nothing to do with where you actually are. You are watching a film, and a character goes cold, the warmth disappearing from their eyes in a specific way, and something in your stomach recognizes it before your mind does. You are in a new relationship, a healthy one, a genuinely safe one, and your partner is quiet one evening, just tired, just in their own thoughts. And you spend the next 2 hours monitoring the atmosphere, reading signs, preparing for something that is not coming. This is not anxiety. This is memory, stored in muscle and bone, written by the repeated experience of living inside the cycle. Your body learned to survive by staying alert to the shifts. And bodies that learned that lesson do not unlearn it simply because the situation changed. This is why people say, "I know it is over. I know they were wrong for me. I know I should be fine. But I am not fine." Because knowing and healing are not the same thing. And healing from a trauma bond is not just psychological. It is physical. So what actually works? Not what feels like it should work. What actually does. The first thing, stop asking why you cannot just get over it. The question itself is wrong. It assumes that healing from a neurological process operates on the same timeline as recovering from a bad day. It does not. The nervous system heals slowly, through experience, through safety repeated over time, until the body starts to believe, not just know, but actually believe, that the alert does not need to stay on. The second thing, learn to distinguish missing them from missing the cycle. Because on most days when the pull returns, when the desperate need to reach out, to check, to know what they are doing feels unbearable, what you are actually missing is not the person. You are missing the activation state, the dopamine anticipation, the intensity of the seeking, the specific aliveness of being in that heightened neurological state. The person was the vehicle. The cycle was what you were missing. And naming that distinction, in the exact moment when the pole arrives, creates just enough space to make a different choice. Not forever, just for this moment. The third thing, rebuild capacity for safety. One of the most damaging long-term effects of a trauma bond is what it does to how your nervous system registers genuine connection. After sustained time in the cycle, your brain learned to associate love with activation, with uncertainty, with the desperate reaching for unpredictable reward. So when genuine safety arrives, a partner who is consistently warm, consistently present, consistently reliable, it can feel wrong, flat, unconvincing. Not because they are wrong for you, because your nervous system does not recognize safety as love yet. The work is staying in genuine safety long enough without creating instability, without testing attachment, without introducing the familiar activation, for your nervous system to slowly learn. That consistency is not boredom. That calm is not distance. That the absence of the desperate seeking state is not proof that something is missing. It is proof that you are finally somewhere real. The fourth thing, seek professional support. Not because something is wrong with you, because the bond was built at a neurological level, and healing at a neurological level is supported by specific approaches, trauma-informed therapy, EMDR, somatic work, that go deeper than understanding alone can reach. You do not have to do this alone. You were never supposed to do this alone. And now, the thing I promised you, the thing nobody says directly. Here it is. The capacity that made you vulnerable to the trauma bond is the same capacity that makes you capable of genuine love. The ability to open deeply, to trust before you have complete evidence, to feel the warmth when it was there and grieve its absence when it withdrew. To care so much about one person's experience of you that you organized your entire behavior around it. These are not flaws. These are not weaknesses to be corrected. They are the specific qualities that make real, lasting, genuine love possible. A person without those capacities would not have been bonded. They would have walked away earlier, colder, less affected, less opened. You stayed because you were capable of something real, in the wrong place. And the version of you coming through this recovery, the version that understands the mechanism, that has done the work, that has learned to feel the difference between the activation state and genuine safety, that version will recognize the right place, earlier than you ever could before, more clearly than you ever have. You are not damaged. You are not too much. You are not someone who loves wrong. You are someone who loved genuinely and ended up in a place that could not hold it. That is not a verdict on your capacity. It is information about where you were. And you are not there anymore. If this video gave you language for something you have been living inside without being able to name, please share it with one person who is still inside it. Because somewhere right now, someone is in stage 4 of the cycle, feeling the relief of the reconciliation, believing this time the cycle is over. And they deserve to understand what they are actually inside. Subscribe, because this channel exists to give you the psychology that makes sense of the most painful and confusing experiences of being human. I will see you in the next one.